Welcome to the Story Learning Podcast, regular doses of language learning tips and motivation to help you become fluent in any language. With me, Olly Richards. For language programs, books, free resources, and much more, visit StoryLearning.com. It's another cold, wet, windy morning here in London, and welcome to the I Will Teach You a Language podcast. Great to have you here. Sometimes I wonder, why do I live in this country? But I know why it is, because it's super cool and there's so much going on. Language-wise as well, it's such a great place to be. We've got the Polyglot Pub, which is my monthly event for language learners here in London. Go to Facebook and search for Polyglot Pub if you want to join. Totally free. And we've got loads of other things as well. So come to London, it's super cool. Anyway, I've started recently doing some more live video calls as I'm walking around London talking about languages. I'm using an app called Periscope for that. So if you would like to join me live on video for my walks around London, you can go to you got to go and download the Periscope app. You can get it for Android or iPhone. And Periscope, that's Periscope. Download the Periscope app and search for Olly Richards, and you will find me, and you'll see where I walk every day and get some language tips from me live at different points throughout the day. Now, without any further ado, let's dive into today's question from Mario.
Hello, Olly. I'm Mario from Mexico, and thank you for your tips you give to us. I want to be sure of my own English level, and I want to choose an English exam to do that, but I'm not sure what to pick out. In my country, almost everybody takes the TOEIC. Students take the TOEFL. Some other guys take the BOLATS, and another guys told me that IELTS is the exam I must take. I can't take all of them. How can I choose the best one for me? Is there a point of view, a criteria, or a guide to do it? Thanks again, and take care. Bye.
Okay, Manuel, thank you very much for a cool question. And I like this because we haven't talked much about exams. And yet, certainly for English learners around the world, exams are a big thing, They affect sometimes whether you can emigrate to another country, whether you can get into university. It's a big, big deal. But also, for those of you guys who aren't learning English, who are learning other languages, there are also very, very big institutional exams which lots of you take. For example, there's the DELE for Spanish, there's the JLPT for Japanese, and a lot of people really do think carefully about exams, so it's a great question. So Manuel's basic problem is, he wants to take an English exam, but how does he choose? There are so many out there. You've got TOEIC, IELTS, BOLATS, and so on and so forth, and new ones cropping up all the time. In fact, I know quite a lot about this because many years ago, I used to be an IELTS examiner. Now, IELTS is the International English Language Testing System. It's a very, very good test, and I used to be an examiner for them. So, in fact, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that, actually. I think they have some kind of rule where you're not supposed... Anyway, I don't do it anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm very familiar with this. Now, you've got out there some good exams and some not so good exams. And in my opinion, most language exams out there are crap. Excuse my language. They are, because here's the thing. Examination is a very difficult, complex area. And when I first did my initial teacher training, I remember my trainer told me, he said to the group, listen guys, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. Whatever you do, never ever get involved in examination because it's so hard. Very difficult to create tests and exams that have integrity and are whose construction is totally valid. It's very, very difficult to do, and you open yourself up for criticism. Well, anyway, suffice it to say, it's a very, very complex area. But on a practical level, there are some things that are easy to test and some things that are not. For example, it's quite easy to test someone's listening skills because you can give them a multiple choice question and then get a computer to analyze the results. But if you want to test someone's speaking or someone's writing, you have to have a human being there who can mark it. Especially with speaking, it has to be done in real time. And with those, when you start to have a speaking and a writing component in an exam, what happens then is the cost goes up dramatically. And so a lot of tests out there, like the TOEIC, for example, they actually, because they want to be very widespread, they don't have a speaking component. Now, this might have changed in recent years, so TOEIC might have a speaking now, but it never used to. And similarly with the JLPT, the Nihongo no Ryoku Shiken, has no speaking component. At least it didn't when I was taking it. And so you've got these big exams out there that are not testing your speaking. And so, you've got to ask yourself, well, what's the point of doing those exams? One question is, are they valid? Do they give you accurate results? Another question is, are they really worth doing in the first place? There are other problems. An exam like TOEIC, for example, the way to pass TOEIC is by memorizing massive amounts of vocabulary. You don't have to be able to speak the language or communicate, despite the fact it bills itself as a communication exam. You can get a very high mark, 800, 900 in the test by just memorizing large amounts of vocabulary. So it's, in my view, it's not fit for purpose. There are some great exams though. IELTS, I think, is a fantastic exam because there's nowhere to hide with IELTS. You get tested across the 4 skills. You get graded, and the grading criteria, I know this because I was an examiner for years. The grading criteria are extremely well written, and they are very strict with those as regular training for examiners. And yeah, I think, in my view, from what I've seen, IELTS is definitely one of the best English language tests out there. Again, for Spanish, I've seen the DELE. I was contemplating at one point taking the C2 DELE exam. They didn't have one at the time, actually. It was just the C1. But I had a look at the test, and I thought it was pretty good, although I didn't look at it in too much detail. But here's the thing, Manuel. The question is, for you, do you want to take this exam for fun or for another purpose, such as your career, or to get into university, or to emigrate to another country? That's the question you've got to answer. Because if it's for fun, then just do whatever exam you prefer. And I would recommend IELTS because it's a good exam. You'll learn tons. If it's for another reason, such as your career or to get into a university, then you have to do something very, very specific, which is to go to your employer or to the university you want to get into and ask them about their criteria, because they will tell you what they accept. Lots of universities in the UK or Australia, for example, they will only accept IELTS. So if you want to get into university in the UK, for example, you have to have IELTS band 6.5 or 7, depending on or sometimes 5, it depends on the degree that you want to do. But UK universities are very, very clear. You need to have IELTS. So I don't know what your situation is, Manuel. You're gonna have to think about what it is exactly that you want it for, and if it's for a specific reason, then go and speak to those people. Ask them what they need. Ask them what they require, and that will tell you. Not ask them what exam they accept, and also what level or what band or what grade they need you to have in order to be accepted. Right? That's what you need to do. It's very, very straightforward. Again, if it's something that you want to do for fun, then think about what it is that you want. Do you want to improve your speaking? Do you want to become more academic in English? Do you want to, what is it that you would like to get from this experience? For foreign languages, for example, for someone who's looking to improve someone who's living in Japan, learning Japanese, wants to become better at speaking. Should you take the JLPT? I say it's a complete waste of time. It doesn't even test your speaking. If you're learning Spanish and you want to improve your grammar, then the DELE will be a great exam to take because they are they have include lots of stuff on Spanish grammar. So do you see, there are there's also so many different criteria to take into account, but it all starts with you, and it all starts with what it is, your aim, what it is that you are trying to achieve. So I hope that's helpful, Manuel. Go ahead and if you'd like to leave a comment on the blog post, on the show notes to this, and let us know what it is that you're trying to do, what you want to achieve, then maybe people can come in and give you a bit of advice on that. I know there's lots of English teachers and English language experts that listen to this podcast, so they might be able to help you out. If you'd like to do that, you can go to iwillteachyourlanguage.com/episode 107. All right, so if you would like to ask me a question, you can do it right now from your phone, from your computer, wherever you are. Simply go to iwillteachyourlanguage.com/ask, and there will be this cool little thing that you can press, and it will you can record your voice, which is really, really cool. Now, at the end of every episode, I like to leave you with a resource of some kind on the topic of the show. And I found a great guide to English exams. So if you would like to know all of the English language exams out there, what they include, what they're good for, then I've got the best blog post for you. You're going to love this because it's going to just give you everything in one place. Fantastic guide to exams. And I'll put that in the show notes. So go to iwillteachyoualanguage.com/episode 107 to check that out. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode of the podcast. Oh, and don't forget to get Periscope. Get Periscope and search for Olly Richards, and I'll see you on my walks around London. Just go to the App Store or the Google Play or whatever it is that you use. Search for Periscope, download the app, and then come and follow me. And I'll see you later today, actually. I'm going to be doing a Periscope later today. So I'd love to see you there. It's really cool. It's live video, so you can see me walking around and you can type in questions and I can see those questions live, so we can kind of have a chat live on air. And actually that works sometimes for better or for worse, actually, because on the scope I was doing yesterday, there was some guy leaving some obscenely rude comments. So I had to ban him from the talk. That was quite funny. So apologies to anyone who was listening to that who was offended or shocked or otherwise disturbed by that. But nevertheless, it's mostly clean, so I'd love to see you there. Come and, download the app, Periscope, and I'll see you on my walks around London. Thanks very much for listening, guys. Sorry for the rambling. I'm trying to cut down on it, and I'll see you in the next episode of the podcast. Thanks for listening to today's episode, and in case you didn't already know, I teach languages in a rather unusual way, through stories. Now, stories are a great way to learn a new language because when you're engrossed in a story, you remember things more easily, and the mechanics of the language just start clicking inside your brain. It's quite something, and if you'd like to find out how you can learn a new language or improve your skills in a language that you already know, and do it with the power of stories, then you should check out my free Story Learning Kit, which will teach you exactly how this method works and how you can use it yourself to learn a new language. Visit storylearning.com/podkit, that's PODKIT, to get free access. Inside you'll find explanatory videos, masterclasses, worksheets, short stories to practice with, and much, much more. Once again, that is storylearning.com/podkit, PODKIT, and if you're lucky, you might also find a link in the podcast description or show notes of this episode.